The silence in the executive boardroom was so thick you could slice it with a knife. 24 pairs of eyes darted between Eucharia Smith, standing at the doorway with 2 designer suitcases, and Helen, the 23-year-old intern who had been sleeping with Eucharia's husband for the past 7 months. Eucharia hadn't planned on crashing the quarterly budget meeting, but timing, like karma, had a wicked sense of humor. "Delivery for Helen, Steve," Eucharia announced, her voice steady despite the earthquake happening inside her chest. "I believe these belong with you now." Eucharia would never forget how the color drained from Helen's face. That perfect, filtered for Instagram face that had smiled at Eucharia so innocently at the company Christmas party while secretly texting her husband under the table. She watched Helen's perfect French manicure, the one Eucharia was unknowingly paying for through her husband's credit card, tremble as Helen gripped the edge of the conference table. Nathan wasn't even there. Of course not. Regional sales directors always had important client meetings on Thursday afternoons, except his important meeting for the past 7 months had been in the Marriott 2 blocks from the office, always booked under his corporate account because he was just that careless or that arrogant. "I'm sorry. Who are you?" The CEO finally broke the silence, his Mont Blanc pen suspended midair. Eucharia smiled. Not the broken smile of a betrayed wife, but the calm, cold smile of a woman who had reached her limit. "I'm Eucharia Smith, Nathan's wife, or soon-to-be ex-wife, I should say." She wheeled the luggage further into the room. "I just thought since Helen has been enjoying my husband, she might as well enjoy his belongings too." Someone near the back let out a muffled, "Oh my God." But Eucharia kept her eyes locked on Helen. Her shame wasn't even the best part. The best part was watching the realization dawn across Helen's face, that her carefully crafted future, the one where she slept her way into a marriage with a senior executive, was falling apart in real time, in front of the entire upper management team. Eucharia hadn't always been this person. The Eucharia from 3 weeks ago would have crumbled into a heap of tears and self-doubt. That Eucharia died the night she found their messages. It was such a cliché how she discovered it. A notification that popped up on Nathan's iPad while he was in the shower. "Can't wait to taste you again tomorrow." Eucharia remembered staring at those words, her brain refusing to process them at first. This wasn't supposed to happen to her and Nathan. They had the waterfront condo, the country club membership, the plans for children next year once his promotion came through. 15 years together. 5 years of marriage. 3 years of fertility treatments that Eucharia endured while Nathan was always working late. The math of betrayal always added up perfectly in hindsight. "Mrs. Smith, I think there's been some misunderstanding." The HR director started to stand, but Eucharia cut her off with a raised hand. "There's no misunderstanding. I have all the evidence right here." Eucharia patted her handbag, where she had the printed screenshots, hotel receipts, and the GPS history she downloaded from Nathan's car navigation system. "I just wanted to personally deliver what belongs to Helen." She unzipped the first suitcase. Right on top was his favorite cashmere sweater, the gray one Eucharia had given him last Christmas. She picked it up and tossed it to Helen. Helen caught it reflexively, horror spreading across her face. "He likes when you scratch his back while wearing this," Eucharia said. "Light touches, not your nails. He's sensitive about scratches showing at the gym." Someone in the room stifled a laugh. It might have been the CFO. Eucharia wasn't done. She reached into the suitcase again and pulled out Nathan's monogrammed shaving kit. "He needs his special face cream every night or he gets cranky. The expensive one from Switzerland." She tossed it across the table where it stopped right in front of Helen. "Oh, and he's allergic to shellfish. Breaks out in hives all over. But you probably already know that from all those intimate dinners while I was visiting my dying mother in the hospital." The room felt colder. Eucharia watched Helen's throat move as she struggled to swallow. Her eyes searched the room for sympathy, for help, for a way out. She found nothing. "Eucharia," Helen finally whispered. "Oh, we're on a first-name basis now. How nice." Eucharia tilted her head. "You know what's funny? All those nights he told me he was mentoring you. She has so much potential," he'd say. "I actually felt proud of him for supporting women in business." Eucharia let out a laugh, but it had no joy in it. Just the empty sound of a woman who had learned her world was built on lies. "The second suitcase has all his toiletries, his medications. He has high blood pressure, by the way, so be careful during those exciting moments. And his collection of watches." The Rolex was an anniversary gift from me. But clearly sentiment means nothing to him, so why should it mean anything to me? Eucharia stepped back from the luggage and adjusted her blazer. The expensive one she bought for partner meetings at her own firm. The one that still made her feel strong, even when everything else was falling apart. I've also emailed your compliance department all the receipts showing where company money was used for your little meetups. The Marriott, the gifts, the dinners, all on the corporate card. I believe that breaks quite a few company rules. Helen's mascara was running now. Dark streaks traced down her cheeks. Good. Let her cry. Let her feel even a small part of what Eucharia felt when she found out the man she built her whole life around had been building another one behind her back. You can't just, this is a place of business, Helen stammered. So was my marriage, Eucharia replied, her voice cold and clear. Or at least it was supposed to be a partnership. But Nathan decided to invest elsewhere. Now he can enjoy the returns. As Eucharia turned to leave, the weight of what she had just done hit her like a physical force. Her knees nearly gave out. But 15 years with Nathan had taught her one thing: never show weakness in public. So she straightened her spine, pulled her shoulders back, and walked out with all the dignity she could find. The glass door swung shut behind her with a satisfying click, sealing Helen inside with her humiliation and Nathan's belongings. It wasn't until Eucharia reached her car in the parking garage that she allowed herself to feel. The steering wheel caught her forehead as she slumped forward, finally letting go of the sobs that had been building since she packed his bags that morning. They racked through her body like waves, each one threatening to rip her apart from the inside. This wasn't how their story was supposed to end. When Eucharia met Nathan during her final year of law school, he was the teaching assistant who stayed late to help students prepare for the bar exam. He had a way of making hard ideas feel simple and made everyone feel like they mattered. He made her feel like she mattered. He had proposed on the ferry to Bainbridge Island, down on one knee as the Seattle skyline glittered behind him. You're the only certainty in my life, he said. The diamond sparkled in the last rays of sunlight as he slid it onto her finger. Eucharia had believed him. God, how she believed him. They built their life carefully, like architects building a cathedral. Every decision was made together. What jobs to take, which condo to buy, when to start trying for a family. Or so Eucharia thought. The first round of IVF failed. It's okay, Nathan told her, holding her as she cried. We have time. The second round failed too. And the third. Each time, Eucharia blamed her body for failing her. And each time, Nathan promised they were in it together. Now she realized he had been in a different kind of together all along. As far as she could figure out, the affair began shortly after Helen joined the company as a marketing intern. She was smart, driven, and 15 years younger than Eucharia. They had met at the company picnic the previous summer. Helen had seemed sweet. Eucharia had even told Nathan to look out for her, to mentor her like others had mentored him. Mentor her. The irony made Eucharia laugh through her tears. A strange, broken sound that echoed inside her empty car. The signs had been there all along. The late nights, the weekend emergencies at work, his sudden passion for the gym at strange hours, the new cologne that Eucharia hadn't bought, the way he guarded his phone like it held state secrets. But Eucharia had been too busy holding their life together to notice it falling apart. Between the heavy workload at her firm, the hormone treatments, caring for her mother during the final months of cancer, and keeping up with their social calendar, she had no energy left to be suspicious. What a fool she had been. 2 weeks ago, her mother finally passed away after the long battle with cancer. The house felt painfully empty without the hospice nurses coming and going, without the hum of the oxygen machine. Nathan had been supportive during her mother's illness. If you count showing up for family dinners once in a while and asking how she was before quickly changing the topic to work. The night after the funeral, Eucharia expected him to hold her, to comfort her. Instead, he claimed an emergency client meeting and left her alone with her grief. That was the night she found the messages. As if losing her mother wasn't already enough, Eucharia had to lose her husband on the same day. She scrolled through months of messages between Nathan and Helen. Each word felt like a blade twisting deeper into her. He made promises to Helen, shared fantasies, complained about Eucharia and their marriage. He said she was emotionally distant, that she was obsessed with getting pregnant, that their marriage had been dead for years. All while Eucharia had been injecting herself with hormones every night, bruising her stomach, dealing with mood swings and bloating. All while holding on to hope. All while watching her mother slip away piece by piece. She had been running their home, keeping up with friends and family, managing their finances, showing up for everything. All while Nathan was lying straight to her face. The messages were undeniable proof of every fake, "I love you," every plan for the future that was never real. "You're the only woman who truly understands me," he had written to Helen. "When can I have you all to myself?" she replied. "Soon," he promised. "I'm just waiting for the right time." The right time. As if there's ever a right time to destroy someone's life. Of course Eucharia confronted him. It happened that night, when he finally came home, still smelling like hotel soap and her perfume. His face when he saw Eucharia sitting in the dark living room with the iPad glowing in her hands. She would never forget it. Not surprise. Not even guilt. Just irritation. Like he was annoyed that he got caught. "It's not what you think," Nathan said, the go-to line for cheaters everywhere. "Really?" Eucharia asked. "Because I think you've been sleeping with your intern while I was caring for my dying mother and trying to have your child. Please, tell me how that's not exactly what I think." He shifted strategies immediately. "You haven't been present in this marriage for years, Eucharia. What did you expect?" That was when she knew they were truly over. Not just because he had betrayed her, but because he was trying to make it her fault. As if her grief, her desire for children, her career goals had somehow forced him into another woman's bed. "Get out," she told him, her voice deadly quiet. "This is my house too," he replied. "The house that my law degree pays the mortgage on? The house that's in my name because your credit was too poor when we bought it? That house." He slept in the guest room that night, and the next. They lived in silence for days. Two strangers in a space that used to be filled with love. Or what she thought was love. "We need to talk about this rationally," he finally said over breakfast 3 days later. "People make mistakes. Marriages survive affairs all the time." She looked at him across their kitchen island. This man she had loved for 15 years. This stranger who could betray her completely and then expect forgiveness like it was owed. "You're right," she said calmly. "We do need to talk rationally." He looked relieved. He thought she was going to take him back. "I've already contacted a divorce attorney. You'll be hearing from them shortly. In the meantime, I need you out of the house by tomorrow." His face twisted with disbelief. "You can't be serious. Where am I supposed to go?" She shrugged. "I don't know, Nathan. Maybe Helen has space in her studio apartment. Or maybe one of the other women you've been with can take you in." His expression told her she'd hit a nerve. There had been others before Helen. Of course there had. "Eucharia, be reasonable." "I am being reasonable. In fact, I'll help you pack." That night, after Nathan had gone back to the guest room, she sat alone in their bedroom and mapped out her plan. If there was one thing being a corporate attorney had taught her, it was how to plan when everything was falling apart. First, she secured her finances. She emptied their joint accounts and moved only her fair share to her personal account. She wasn't going to steal from him, but she also wasn't going to be left vulnerable. She changed the passwords on all their shared online accounts, from streaming services to utilities. She called the credit card companies and removed him as an authorized user. Next, she started collecting evidence. She already had screenshots of their messages, but she needed more. She contacted someone she knew through work, Mary, a former detective who now specialized in infidelity cases. "I don't need proof that he's cheating," she told her over coffee the next morning. "I need proof that he's been using company resources to do it." Mary raised an eyebrow, going for the professional jugular. "I like it. He made this professional when he chose his subordinate," Eucharia replied. "I'm just following through with the consequences." In 2 days, Mary brought her a full file. Hotel charges on the company card, expensive dinners labeled as client meetings with no real clients, company car logs that matched their meetups, and even a company-sponsored conference in Chicago where Helen had been added to the list last minute, with no reason for her to be there. It was more than enough to violate the company's ethics policy and anti-fraternization rules. Rules that Nathan himself had helped write as part of the executive team. The hypocrisy was too much. But she wasn't done yet. While Nathan was at work, she went through his home office carefully. In one of his desk drawers, she found a small velvet box. Inside were diamond earrings she had never seen before. The receipt was underneath. $3,800. Bought just 2 weeks ago. Her birthday wasn't for months. Their anniversary had come and gone without a gift. The earrings were for Helen, bought while her mother was dying. She placed the earrings in her own jewelry box. They were never going to hang from Helen's ears. That much was certain. In the same drawer, she found something even more valuable, a thumb drive. She plugged it into her laptop and found confidential company documents, strategies, financial forecasts, employee records. Things Nathan had no right having at home, especially given the strict industry rules. She copied everything, then put the drive back exactly where she had found it. Insurance, in case things got worse. By the third day of her investigation, she had enough to destroy both his marriage and his career. But she wasn't planning to ruin him professionally, at least not yet. That would depend on how he handled the divorce. What she wanted first was for both of them, Nathan and Helen, to face the social consequences of their actions. The embarrassment, the office gossip that would follow long after she was gone from their lives. That's when she decided on the suitcase delivery. She waited for the perfect moment, when there would be a big audience. The company's quarterly budget meeting was on Thursday. Everyone important would be there, except Nathan, who had a standing client meeting at the Marriott with Helen. Except Helen had been specifically asked to attend the budget meeting to present some marketing numbers. Eucharia knew this because she had called the CEO's assistant the day before, pretending to be Nathan's assistant. She said Helen had prepared some important data and needed to be there. But I thought Nathan was presenting that part himself, the assistant said, confused. Oh, he has a conflict, Eucharia lied smoothly. He asked for Helen to attend in his place. It worked. Helen was told to attend the meeting, leaving Nathan alone at the hotel. A small satisfaction rose in Eucharia as she imagined him checking his watch, calling Helen over and over, confused and frustrated when she didn't show up. The morning of her plan, Eucharia woke up calm, eerily calm. She spent extra time on her appearance. She wore her most expensive suit, had her makeup done professionally, and her hair was styled to perfection. If she was going to make a scene they would remember for years, she was going to look good doing it. She packed his suitcases carefully. Everything was neatly folded and organized. His most valuable possessions, the things that would hurt him the most to lose. His watch collection, the signed baseball from his favorite player, his custom suits, the rare scotch. She was thorough. This wasn't going to be done halfway. As she zipped up the second suitcase, a strange feeling of peace came over her. For the first time since finding out about the affair, she wasn't just reacting, she was acting. She was taking back control of her story. She practiced what she would say in the mirror. No crying. No scouting. That's what people expected from a betrayed wife. Instead, she would be calm and cutting. The kind of cold anger that burns deeper than loud words ever could. On the drive to his office building, she went over every possible situation in her head. What if security stopped her? What if Helen wasn't there? What if Nathan had shown up at the meeting after all? But deep down, she knew it would work. Because people like Nathan and Helen, people who take what they want and expect no consequences, they never see it coming. They count on the fact that others won't confront them, just to keep the peace. But she was done keeping the peace. She pulled into a visitor parking spot at exactly 2:45 p.m. The budget meeting would already be happening. She checked her lipstick in the rearview mirror one last time, then got out and lifted the 2 suitcases from her trunk. The security guard at the front desk recognized her from past company events. Mrs. Smith, haven't seen you in a while. Is Nathan expecting you? She smiled warmly. It's a surprise. I'm bringing him some things he needs for his business trip tomorrow. He waved her through without a second thought. Too easy. In the elevator, a young man offered to help her with the luggage. Thank you, but I need to do this myself, she told him. The weight of the suitcases was nothing compared to the weight she had been carrying the past few weeks. When she stepped off on the executive floor, everything was quiet except for the soft hum of the air conditioning and faint voices coming from the boardroom at the end of the hall. She wheeled the suitcases behind her, their wheels whispering against the soft carpet. Outside the boardroom, she stopped. Through the glass walls, she could see everyone. The CEO at the head of the table, a row of VPs and directors, and halfway down the table, Helen. Helen was speaking, pointing to something on the projector screen. Her big moment. Eucharia took a deep breath, straightened her back, and pushed open the door. The seconds after she wheeled the suitcases into the boardroom felt like an eternity. She watched the emotions pass over Helen's face like TV channels changing. Confusion, recognition, horror, panic. All in just a few seconds. What happened next was better than anything she could have planned. As she continued pulling out Nathan's belongings and tossing them one by one in front of Helen, explaining what each item meant with cold calmness, the room began to shift. At first, there was shock. Then, uncomfortable shifting in seats. Then, quiet curiosity. People pretending not to watch but watching closely. When she pulled out Nathan's high blood pressure medication and mentioned it, someone in the room actually snorted, trying not to laugh. Helen had started texting under the table, definitely warning Nathan, who was probably still at their secret hotel spot, wondering why she hadn't shown up. Eukarya imagined his phone lighting up with her messages. She's here. She knows. She's telling everyone. Your phone seems busy, Helen, Eukarya said, pausing. Is my husband asking where you are? Feel free to tell him exactly what's happening. Helen's head snapped up. Her face turned red. This is completely unprofessional, she hissed. Unprofessional, Eukarya repeated slowly. Like sleeping with your married boss? Like using the company's money to pay for your hotel rooms and dinners? That kind of unprofessional. The CEO, Michael Hartman, had finally found his voice. Mrs. Smith, while I understand you're going through something personal. Oh, this stopped being just personal when they started putting their hotel charges on the company card, Eukarya said, cutting him off. She pulled a folder from her bag and slid it across the table. Page 3 has the list of company policy violations. Page 7 has screenshots of Nathan promising Helen a promotion if she kept sleeping with him. I think that's called quid pro quo sexual harassment in your HR handbook. Michael's face turned from awkward to furious as he looked through the papers. The HR director leaned over to see them. Her face became more serious with each page. Miss Steve, is this true? Michael asked Helen, his voice quiet but firm. Helen opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. It's not, she finally said. I'll take that as a yes, Michael said, standing. He looked at the HR director. Mary, we'll need to deal with this immediately. Already on it, Mary said. She stood up and looked at Helen. Miss Steve, please come with me to my office. Helen stayed frozen in her seat, still holding Nathan's cashmere sweater tightly in her hand. But I didn't, this isn't fair, she stammered. He told me you were separated, she said at last, looking at Eukarya with pleading eyes. The room went silent again. She could feel everyone watching her, waiting to see how she would respond. She simply smiled. Separated, she said softly. While I was going through fertility treatments for our baby. While I was taking care of my dying mother. That's interesting timing for a separation. Helen's face crumpled. He said you weren't intimate anymore, Helen whispered. That you were focused on your career, that you didn't love him the way I did. And you believed him, Eukarya said gently. It wasn't a question. It was a fact. Just like you believed him when he said you were special. That he'd never felt this way before. That he was going to leave me for you. A tear slid down Helen's cheek, smudging her flawless makeup. For just a moment, Eukarya almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Let me save you some time, Helen, she said. I'm his third wife. The first two also thought they were special. Until they found out about his affairs. It's a pattern, not a passion. That was when her phone buzzed in her pocket. Nathan, of course. She pulled it out, glanced at the screen, and smiled. Well, speak of the devil, she said. Shall we see what he has to say? She put the phone on speaker and answered. Eukarya, where the hell is Helen? We were supposed to meet an hour ago. The boardroom was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Every executive leaned forward slightly. No one pretending not to listen. Hello, Nathan. I'm afraid Helen can't come to the phone right now. She's in a meeting with your entire executive team and me. We're having the most fascinating discussion about corporate ethics. There was a long silence on the other end. Then what have you done? Nathan's voice was low, tense. I've simply delivered your belongings to your girlfriend in front of your colleagues, she said calmly. Oh, and I shared that presentation you've been working on. You know, the one documenting how company money has been funding your midlife crisis. You had no right, he said sharply. Actually, she said, as a corporate attorney who specializes in ethics violations, I had every right. As your wife, I had every right. And as a human being with dignity, I had every right. This is going to cost you in the divorce, he growled. She laughed then, genuinely amused. Nathan, sweetheart, I'm the one with the prenup that protects my assets. I'm the one with evidence of your affair and misuse of company funds. I'm the one who still has a job. So please tell me again what this is going to cost me." Michael cleared his throat. "Nathan, this is Michael. I suggest you come to my office immediately." There was another long pause. Then the call ended. She put her phone back in her pocket and looked around the room. 24 faces stared at her, some in shock, others with quiet respect. Helen sat slumped in her chair, defeated. Mary stood beside her, ready to escort her to HR. "Well," she said brightly, "I believe my delivery is complete. Thank you all for your attention. I apologize for the interruption to your meeting." As she turned to leave, Michael spoke up. "Mrs. Smith." She stopped and looked back over her shoulder. "This company owes you an apology. What happened here was unacceptable, and we will address it with the seriousness it deserves." She nodded once. She heard his words, but didn't fully accept them. "I suggest you review your ethics training program. It seems to have some serious gaps." With that, she walked out, leaving Nathan's suitcases behind. She didn't need his baggage anymore. Not literally, not emotionally. In the elevator going down, her phone buzzed again. Not Nathan this time, but her divorce attorney. "It's done," she texted her. "Exactly as we discussed." "Perfect," the reply came. "This should make the negotiations much easier." By the time she reached her car, the adrenaline was starting to fade. Her hands trembled slightly as she put the key in the ignition. She had done it. She had faced them both. She had refused to be the silent, suffering wife. She looked at herself in the rearview mirror and hardly recognized what she saw. Not because she looked different, but because she felt different. Lighter, clearer, like she had finally shed a skin she had long outgrown. Her phone buzzed again. This time, it was a text from an unknown number. "How could you humiliate me like that? You've ruined everything." She deleted it without replying. Helen was no longer worth her time. Neither was Nathan. Instead, she drove to the waterfront park where Nathan had proposed all those years ago. She sat on a bench facing the ocean and watched the waves crash against the shore, each one retreating, only to return again with strength, again and again. Unstoppable. Just like her. 1 year later, she stood in her new kitchen. Morning sunlight poured through windows that faced east, not west. A different view. A different life. Better, in ways she never could have imagined. On that day, she had wheeled 2 suitcases into a boardroom and changed everything. The aftermath had been quick and complete. Nathan was fired the same day for ethics violations. Helen was moved to a different department, then quietly let go 3 months later during a restructuring. The divorce was finished in record time. Nathan's lawyer advised him to accept her terms, rather than risk more damage from public exposure. She sold the waterfront condo, it held too many memories, and bought a charming craftsman house in a neighborhood she had always loved, but one Nathan said wasn't prestigious enough. She planted a garden, adopted a rescue dog, reclaimed the space in her life that had been squeezed to make room for Nathan's ego and constant needs. Her mother's death had left a hole in her heart that would never fully heal. But in the garden, she found peace. She talked to her mother often there. "You were right about him," she would say softly as she pruned roses or pulled weeds. "You saw what I couldn't." Her mother had never directly criticized Nathan, but there were signs. A certain look when he checked his phone at family dinners. A worried glance when he dismissed her thoughts. Her mother had known, the way mothers do. Professionally, she thrived. How she handled her own situation had, without planning it, become her calling card. Companies began seeking her out for consulting on ethics programs and harassment policies. "The attorney who walks the walk," one client had called her. Eucharia Smith embraced the specialty, finding purpose in helping organizations build cultures where people like Nathan couldn't operate with impunity. As for children, she had decided to pursue that dream on her own terms. She was in the early stages of the adoption process, excited about the possibility of becoming a mother without the shadow of Nathan's conditional love hanging over the experience. Her phone chimed with a calendar reminder. Lunch with Mary, her private investigator turned friend. They met monthly now, comparing notes on their respective fields and enjoying the easy friendship that had developed between them. As she gathered her things to leave, she caught sight of the small frame on her entryway table. A quote she'd had custom-made after the divorce was finalized. "Sometimes the heaviest things we carry are the stories we never tell." She had told her story loudly, publicly, unapologetically. And in doing so, she had set down a burden she didn't even know she'd been carrying. The weight of others' expectations about how a betrayed wife should behave. The pressure to be dignified in her suffering. The unspoken rule that women should absorb pain privately to protect men from the consequences of their actions. Walking out to her car, she breathed in the crisp autumn air. Her phone buzzed with a text from a number she didn't immediately recognize. I saw Nathan last night at the Capitol Grill with a woman who looked barely 25. Some things never change. She realized it was from a former neighbor. For a moment, she felt a twinge, not of jealousy or regret, but of pity for this new woman who didn't yet know what she was getting into. She typed back, "I hope she delivers his bag somewhere even more public than I did." Then she deleted the exchange, put her phone away, and drove to meet Mary. Nathan's ongoing saga wasn't her story anymore. She had closed that book and opened a new one. One where she was both the author and the heroine. Over lunch, Mary raised her glass in a toast. To two women who refused to be footnotes in their own lives. She clinked her glass against hers, smiling. And to suitcases delivered exactly where they belong. They laughed, and in that moment of shared understanding, she felt the final pieces click into place. The humiliation she'd once felt had transformed into something else entirely: freedom. The kind that comes from standing in your truth. Consequences be damned. That afternoon, as she walked through her garden, checking on the late-blooming dahlia, she thought about that day in the boardroom. How terrified she'd been underneath her composed exterior. How uncertain about what would come next. If she could go back and whisper something to that version of herself, it would be simple. This moment isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of a better one. And it was. It absolutely was.